Yo, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So, as some of you guys may already know, Alex Pereira is officially going to be taking on Ankalaev. And this is going to be a very, very interesting match because it's going to be taking place on March 8th. And we're going to be talking about that date a little bit later. But this is a great main event. Of course, the co-main event is going to feature a fight that we predicted on this channel a couple months ago. And that is Justin Gaethje versus the Hangman Dan Hooker. Now let's go ahead and talk about really quickly about Alex Pereira versus Ankalaev, because in my honest opinion, this is a great fight. This is a legacy fight for Alex Pereira because, as we know, the narrative right now is that he's been running away from Ankalaev. But in my honest opinion, I really don't feel like he is. I feel like we've all known that he was going to go ahead and take on this matchup eventually, and this fight is now officially going to take place, and I'm very, very excited for it. Now, this fight is going to be important for Alex Pereira specifically because, as we all know, there's a lot of people out there that seem to believe that Alex Pereira just doesn't get it done whenever it comes to like wrestling and grappling and those sort of exchanges, which is something that people just seem to expect whenever Ankalaev just comes into the scene, or whenever he comes up and fights Alex Pereira. He's primarily gonna try to pretty much wrestle him and grapple him to the ground and try to get a win in that way. But in my honest opinion, I feel like the only person out there that has pretty much made that like an obvious, thing with Alex Pereira was John Blachowicz. But the John Blachowicz fight was some time ago, and in my honest opinion, I feel like Alex Pereira since then has probably most likely made some big improvements to his grappling and wrestling game. There is also clips right now of Alex Pereira, pretty much performing, some really decent grappling and wrestling, offensive and defensive schemes that you guys can see here. Like, it just doesn't look like he's really getting like outworked. It looks like he's putting in some good work in there. You know, he even goes for a trip here, looking to see how he could pretty much maneuver or get favorable positions in the grappling department. Of course, he's not going to be perfect. As we all know, he is a striker for the most part. You know what I'm saying? And that's where I think the difference is going to be whenever he does face off against someone like Ankalaev, in my honest opinion, because a lot of people seem to forget that Ankalaev is not just primarily a wrestler, grappler type of guy. Ankalaev is a guy that he will definitely try to stand in front of you and try to land some strikes, whether it's some leg kicks like he did against John Blachowicz, or just try to land some of his boxing combinations. And then once he starts, getting a little bit loose with his striking game, then he'll look to get a takedown. Then he'll look to get a grapple, exchange with you, and he'll probably try to take Alex Pereira to the fence. But like I said, I honestly really do believe that ever since Alex Pereira, got into MMA, something that he's been focusing on a lot is his grappling and his wrestling game. We really haven't seen a lot of fighters try to kind of use that as a way to win for whatever reason. But I honestly do believe that Alex Pereira has been making strides in that department. Obviously, training with Glover Teixeira, a really, really good grappler and wrestler, in his own way. And I'm pretty sure that since the John Blachowicz fight, Alex Pereira has been making some ginormous strides in his game to pretty much improve in that department. If I had to give a prediction, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just gonna go ahead and be honest, man. I think Chama gets it done. I think Alex Pereira is gonna go ahead and knock out Ankalaev. I think he's gonna knock his ass out, and I think that he's gonna beat the shit out of Ankalaev for very obvious reasons. Personally, I feel like Alex Pereira right now is literally the face of the UFC. He gets to call the shots. He gets to tell Ankalaev when he wants to fight, and obviously, he picked a very specific date. Picked March 8th to fight Ankalaev, and we need to talk about that day because obviously that means a lot. March 8th is going to be the middle, literally the middle of Ramadan. Ramadan starts on the evening of Friday, February 28th, and it's gonna end on March the 29th. So yeah, if Magomed Ankalaev is participating in Ramadan, and not eating and not really nutritioning his body after workouts, I think that's gonna hinder him really, really bad in this matchup. I think it's gonna hinder him a lot, and I do think that Alex Pereira, without a doubt, is gonna end this fight with him being the victor. That's not me hating on Ankalaev. I think that Ankalaev is a great fighter. I think that he has a great overall skill set, but I think it's still Chama season, man. I still think that it's Chama's win. I still think that he's gonna get it done. I feel like he is gonna probably end up, doing the same thing that he does to a lot of his opponents and just some way, somehow landing that lead hook. I feel like that's exactly what's probably going to happen. Alex Pereira's a very, very smart fighter. Very, very smart fighter. He knows how to pressure he knows how to pressure his opponents into his opponents being offensive so that he could work his magic in being a defensive counterpuncher, which is just something that a lot of people don't cover in the sport. Alex Pereira is an absolute mastermind when it comes to baiting his opponents into being offensive so that he could lead with his own defensive schemes, being a defensive counterpuncher and landing some freaking hits on his opponents that just sit them the fuck down. And that's the way that I see things going down, especially with the context of Ramadan, where Ankalaev might or might not be participating. But even then, I still feel like Alex Pereira gets it done, in my honest opinion. But before we go ahead and close out this segment of Alex Pereira and Ankalaev, I would just like to point out some of these things that he said about Alex Pereira last year at around April 14th, 2024. He said that he would knock out Alex Pereira because Alex Pereira doesn't have a chin. That's insane. That's an insane take by by Magomed Ankalaev. He said that he doesn't even need to take him down, that he would just stand there in front of him and just try to knock him out or knock him out, which is something that I obviously don't agree with. I think that Magomed Ankalaev's best chances of winning is to try to grapple with Alex Pereira, because if it turns into a striking match, I really do think that Alex Pereira is going to end up knocking out his next opponent. All right, let's go ahead and talk about this co-main event, because this is a very important fight for Justin Gaethje. Probably his last chance at fighting for the title. He needs this win. And of course, for Dan Hooker, he needs this win as well, because he's been kind of inconsistent in the past couple of years. But we're going to go ahead and talk about that very, very quickly. Let's go ahead and talk about Justin Gaethje. At one point, he was fighting for the title after going in a 4-fight win streak. He fought Khabib Nurmagomedov, lost this fight. Then fight Michael Chandler, won. Then he fought Charles Oliveira, lost that fight. Beat Rafael Fiziev, Dustin Poirier, and then his recent fight was against Max Holloway, where he did get knocked out. He is 35, 36 years old now. 36 years old now, so he's nowhere near being in his physical prime anymore, but this guy 100% can still crack. I think he has one left opportunity in his UFC career where he is able to fight for the title, and that's what's at stake right now. If Justin Gaethje does beat Dan Hooker in a convincing way and an impressive way, I honestly really do believe that he has the possibility of fighting for the title next, because just of his name. His name is obviously a big draw, and right now the lightweight division is in a weird position where there is no real true contender besides Arman Sarukian, if I'm just being honest. But Arman Sarukian needs to work his way back up after getting injured. And look, honestly, in my honest opinion, I think the UFC is probably going to give Justin Gaethje, that little favor of fighting for the title next if he's able to beat Dan Hooker in a very impressive way. For Dan Hooker, the last couple of years he's been kind of inconsistent. If I'm just being completely honest, he's been inconsistent. Since he came into the UFC. He gets wins and he gets losses. Then he goes in a little bit of a streak, then gets some losses. But his last couple of wins have been very impressive. The one against Jalen Turner was pretty decent, and the one against Mateusz Gamrot was very impressive because, in my honest opinion, I thought that Mateusz Gamrot was going to go ahead and get the job done in that fight. But surprisingly, Dan Hooker managed to get his hand raised on that fight. I know that he's been battling a couple of injuries in his career as well, but Dan Hooker is one of those guys that he just comes in to fight. He doesn't give a fuck if he gets hit in the face. And one thing for sure, ladies and gentlemen, somebody is walking away in this fight, getting absolutely fucked up. Expect to see CTE in action. That's exactly what I expect to see in this matchup. 100%. There's gonna be van a llover vergazos. 100%. But for this specific matchup, man, I honestly really do see Justin Gaethje getting it done. I feel like Justin Gaethje probably is going to be more motivated than ever because I feel like he knows that this is his last opportunity, being 36 years old, for fighting for the title. And I think he's just going to come in this fight and be super extra prepared. And I feel like he is going to get it done against Dan Hooker. But let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below about that. But anyways, if you guys enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate it if you guys leave a like, consider subscribing, comment your thoughts in the comment section down below. As always, it's a pleasure. Peace out and have a good one.